I've always considered law of cosines to be kind of a last resort. If something's not a right triangle, I try law of sines. If law of sines doesn't work, then I got to move on to law of cosines. The reason is, compared to law of sines, this is kind of a complex and cumbersome formula. It works great, but obviously not something we'd want to do all the time. That being said, if we tried to use law of sines here, if you recall from my law of sines video, the first thing that we look for is an angle and its opposite side, and look for a pair of those that are known. And in this case, we only know one of the angles and we don't know its opposite side. So if that's the case, we're going to have to use law of cosines. And kind of the key to this, and I color coded it to make it easiest, is whatever angle we're going to use, that's the side that's going to go over here on the left all by itself. And then we use the other two sides for everything else. So personally, the way I remember this formula is it's cosine of an angle, and then whatever that angle is, its opposite side goes on the left, and then it's just the other side squared plus the other side squared minus 2 times those two sides times each other. So I have the angle here. I'm going to plug that in, and its opposite side is unknown. So I'm going to put that here. And then everything else, we're just going to plug in. And again, I color coded it. You can label the sides if you'd like. That's another strategy. And we'll plug in 82 for C as well. This works great, but obviously this is kind of just a pain to actually calculate. That being said, we'll plug and chug and put most of this in the calculator here real quick. But before we do, let's go ahead and square root both sides here. And that way we can plug everything into our calculator right at the same time. So I'm going to get rid of the squared part here. We're just going to take everything that's in here and just rewrite it right underneath. The reason I'm saying that is, again, this is our exact answer. It is very unlikely that this number under here is going to be a perfect square. So we're really going to just want to have this in the bank, and then we put our approximation right underneath it so that someone can look at a number and just kind of say, okay, well, that seems like a reasonable number.
And for this side, we get that it is approximately 58.09 units.
And if I plug that in up here, approximately 58.09, and I look at these values, well, 42 is a pretty small angle. That leaves almost 140 degrees left between these two angles here. 138 degrees goes to both of those. So that's quite a bit. That's the majority of the degrees that are available for these interior angles. So it seems pretty reasonable that this is going to be significantly smaller than the other two sides. If I had, for example, gotten a side here that was 122, well, that wouldn't make any sense. And I'd have to go back to the drawing board and figure out where I made a mistake.